Who would be a Wolves fan, eh?
On goes Bull. People might yet win it here for Wolves. Flash in the shot. What a goal!
Hello and welcome everyone to today's episode of Wolves Fancast, back once again. I am joined by the magnificent trio of Jafo, Matt and Stu. We are going to talk Blackpool just a little bit because I think it's going to be far more interesting and intriguing and exciting to talk about a lot of the transfer rumours that are coming up, because it looks like Wolves might actually be signing some players in the forthcoming days, guys. Can you Adam and Eve it?
Very exciting, isn't it?
Me and Matt are on different energy levels right now. For those who did not know.
Well, I think the Here We Go has had less weight about it recently, I've found. So the Percy Bomb is what I'm really relying on here for complete enjoyment and exaltation.
Fair enough. I feel like that would be an interesting Twitter poll.
I think it would.
Yeah, I feel like it would be quite heavily Midlands way down for the Percy Bomb, but I am a huge fan of a Percy Bomb. To be fair, let's get right into it, guys, because I know we're chomping at the bit to talk about the Nunes situation, because that is that's a story that's literally developed since the last time we did a show. And bearing in mind we're on our third show in 5 days. And it's taken about 4 twists and turns since Stu was in the hot seat on Sunday. So we'll go from there. Let's talk Blackpool, because it was a weird one for me, because it was such a professional job. We saw off a lower league opposition comfortably, to the fact that for the first time in since the interwar period, we had 2 strikers scoring. And another one who came off the bench to score as well. Can't argue with it, boys, if you ask me. But starting lineup, O'Neill did shake things about 9 changes, I believe it was, from the weekend. Most notably, I mean, looking at the back line stood out for me when you at 6:45 yesterday. Stu, what was your take on the lineup?
Trying to figure it out. I thought at first, well, it's clearly it's some kind of it's a back 4, and then some other madness is going on with maybe Aït-Nouri playing like he did against Everton in part of a front 3, or some kind of 4-4-1-1. I didn't expect a back 3 with Matt Doherty on the right hand side. Let's put it that way. But okay, if you ain't going to experiment against Blackpool in the Cup, when are you going to do it? So I don't blame him. And after the initial confusion, I was strangely impressed.
Yeah, it all seems to sort of work. And we're going to talk a lot about player integrity in the next hour. But one man who seems to have a healthy stock of it would be Johnny, who made his sort of first appearance of the season. Matt, again, someone who is expected to leave and has definitely kind of gone down the pecking order at Wolves. Was it nice to see him in a Wolves top again?
Yeah, I think so. I think, we're all kind of still pining for that good time feeling that we had where Johnny and Co and Doherty to a large degree were part of that group. And I think knowing that he was injury plagued throughout his time here and has came back from not 1 but 2 potential career-ending injuries and still puts the shirt on and puts a shift in, admittedly not now at the level that he once was or the level that we need him at. I think it's good that he can still play a part in, driving the club forward. We have to put teams out. We're not going to do a Man United and choose not to go into a cup competition, domestic cup competition. So that's exactly what these players are to be utilised for, these squad players, to kind of flesh out these these domestic cup games and give an opportunity to stave off injury and rest key players for big fixtures.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's good that I guess he's understood his place at the moment. And as far as we're aware, there's been no kind of uproar behind the scenes about it. And, I think it could be quite easy, it turns out, for players to down tools at the moment. You can see I've got certain opinions on the Nunes situation. But, and for me, I guess the icing on the cake was the bench, to be honest. And the fact that it had an abundance of youth, including a 15-year-old on there, which frankly wild.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we didn't have a shirt ready because of the betting sponsor on the sleeve, because this is so ridiculous. But fair play, everyone saw the video. There you are. Everyone saw the video before the game of his close control. And the whole adage of if you're good enough, then you're old enough. So it would have been nice to get to see him on the pitch, but I think it was more of an experience thing in the end, really.
I mean, we talk experiences, like, you need to have a parent and or guardian to basically sign off on that on that excursion. But no, I mean,
no. Can you imagine with that? Sorry to interrupt. That close control against a Blackpool team that were 5-0 down. Someone who just literally would have just gone through the back of him and made sure he never did a step over ever again in his entire life. I just think, like, thank God he didn't come on for his personal well-being.
I mean, I'm looking at that, and don't get me wrong. I mean, my eyes genuinely get a bit confused by the sheer footwork of it all. And then I feel like I just end up sort of losing concentration, going, that's a really nice garden he's playing football in. Question on YouTube. Big thanks to, of course, everyone who's joining in live with us on YouTube. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. As always, guys, your support and love means the world to us. Speaking of, Danny P, regular listener to the show, asked, what were you doing when you were 15, and how many police officers did it involve?
I know that you're looking at this. I mean,
I'm just looking at a webcam, Stuart.
To be fair, I mean, it was probably around about 15. We used to do it on a Friday night. We used to go down the Tesco, where they used to have the auto trader all stacked up in the inside. And so we used to get these auto traders and kind of chuck them around to be like mild level hooligans until we found this Reliant Robin that was around the corner, and we used to go like pick it up and move it every week. But we never did any harm to it. It was fine. But yeah, but that was what we were doing.
Yeah, that's so on brand. It could have been more on brand for you, Stu. Let's talk about the game, guys. Again, it was just a professional job, literally from beginning to end. Deadline was broken after only 10 minutes, with Sasa Kladnic getting his second goal in as many games for Wolves. Again, you cannot argue with his goals return for Wolves.
2 goals in 20 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah, can't argue at all. And I think that's the thing, is it's only going to breed confidence, these players getting goals. And, you can say it's just Blackpool, but Fabio Silva getting a goal at Molineux, Sasha getting a goal at Molineux, it's huge for them, because now they go out, they've got that little bit more bite. And now they can say, okay, they've done it. So the first hurdle's already done. They've already scored the first goal of the season, or, it's Sasha's case, the second for him. But it's an easy start from and teams like that, and that's where we've faltered in the past. A lot of the times when we've come against teams like this, is we've not took it seriously and we've not had that level of professionalism, and we've come unstuck. But yesterday, they put the right side out, strong enough, and they approached it in the right way.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think for both of them, it was a morale scoring effort for them both. And you say it's got them both. Well, it's got Silva off the mark for the season. It's got a goal at Molineux for both of them, and it really kind of, I guess, hopefully gives them that springboard for the rest of the season. For me, and I guess the architect of a lot of Wolves' good play was a player, I guess, divides a lot of fans still in Sarabia. Now, I know there are certain people on here now who are, what did I say? Saint Sarabia, and there's some, who are more on the sinner side of things. But I know, and this is with the greatest of quotation marks, it's only Blackpool, but it was a lovely old display from him, wasn't it?
But I don't really. Yeah, you have to buy the fact that it was only Blackpool, but the assists were still superb. Against, it doesn't matter who you're playing when you put balls in like he did for them, and defenders to defenders. At the end of the day, they're still not gonna. No one was going to stop what he did yesterday. He was superb, and for me, like I said again, the Man United game, he wasn't spectacular, and he didn't really do much on camera. And I think that was the big difference, where people who were at Old Trafford appreciated him a lot more than people who weren't, who watch it on Sky or other means. But yesterday, he was head and shoulders above everyone, which, considering he was playing for PSG 8 months ago, you kind of expect, really. But like you said, Rich, and Jafel mentioned that we've had games like this before, and we've had superstars who've featured because they've been naughty boys or whatever. But Sarabia's got in there with ultra professionalism and just done his job properly. No pissing about, no crying, no moaning. Just gone there and played really, really well. Fair play to him.
Well, that's the thing. Like I said, probably a few weeks ago now on one of the previews, that we will see the best of Sarabia when we dominate a game, and that's the thing is when we're in control of the game, he has this ability to find pockets and do things like he did yesterday. But the problem is that for a team like us, that doesn't happen in the league invariably, unless we're going to change the total way that we play football and go to like sort of the way Brighton play and try and dominate possession. And that worries me with him, that we won't ever really see the best of him outside of games like that. And how does that, impact his legacy at the club? And, certain people have a certain view on him and say that he can't do certain aspects of his game, but that's due to the nature of the game and the nature of the opposition that we're playing.
Yeah. And I think...
Go on, Chief.
I was going to say, I think that is the difference. I mean, you look at you put the graphic up again, Rich. Oh, Everton are 1-0 down to Doncaster, by the way, nearly half time. Look at that chances created there. 5, but 3 assists, and it was the key passes. And it isn't just his set pieces, is it? It's the 81% passing that got me yesterday, because we've seen so many midfielders over the years just go wandering around and just misplace passes and the heads drop. And he carried on and on and on. And yesterday, we saw the best of him. But at Old Trafford, where we were strangely dominant as well, that was when his performance came. Looking at how we set up, though, and the amount of chances we gave up against Everton at the weekend, we weren't dominant at all. And when he came on, he played up front for some odd reason for a little bit. But how are we going to take games to half the league? Because we could do, I think. If we're going to be relying on Sarr and actually giving up a few chances per game and kind of running our luck like we seem to be going so far this season, it wouldn't surprise me if we try and play more like that and like the Man United game than against other teams and sit back. Because we're better than for a change. We've got players who are more comfortable going forward.
I think there was a risk, wasn't there, that for the first few games, he's had a feeling of the large about it, kind of without that win at Everton. I think it would have been echoed that a bit too much, a bit of a gung-ho atmosphere. Not that we were. I mean, it was one of the worst first half performances without us losing against Everton. I was so depressed, was I? Not that I had the room to get out because the seats are awful. I just sat in my seat and sulked at Goodison. It's just how bad it was. But we've talked about that at length anyway. I think when it comes to Sarabia, you can't all we all want youthful exuberism, but we just need like a level professional head at times. Like we can't always be the meat and gravy on the Sunday dinner. Some of us just have to be the vegetables that you just have to have on the plate. You know what I mean? like I get that it might not be the most exciting stuff that he does, but actually it's the reliable stuff that we need. Sometimes a level head when we are that gung ho team, and that's what I think he brings to the table. I notice, and listen, I said only on this mere podcast about a week ago that we need to have patience in Fabio and stuff, and we still do, absolutely. He misplaced so many passes last night because of his like gung-ho attitude, which is great, and he scored, and that's wonderful, and I'm really pleased that he did. But if you had 11 of them on the pitch or 10 of them on the pitch, you'd ship goals left, right, and centre, because we all know, no team apart from maybe Brighton ever plays through us. They just win the ball off us and score.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like we're the architects of our own downfall. So sometimes you just need a reliable player to just be able to do the necessaries, get your 80+% pass completion and unlock doors. It might not be sexy, but it's needed. Which is what I say to the wife. So there we go.
It's strange because when you kind of think of solid, reliable players, you don't always think attackers. And I think he can be sort of quite an unassuming player, Sarabia. And I don't know, I completely agree with like all your points, because he is sort of that level-headed player on the pitch and like just trying to do the simple things well a lot of the time. But again, you kind of just got to hope that, again, he can use this as his platform to develop and build upon. And I don't know, we might see a change in tactics and formation at Wolves going forward, given personnel changes within the squad. And it might actually lend it to someone for Sarabia that more of the play goes through him instead of it going through other players, because it allows him to focus on what he does really well, as opposed to, you say, having him play on the right wing and be essentially the player who get the ball in the transition on the break. And that's not really his game, or ever has been his game, to be honest. Again, a professional job. We ticked all the boxes when you think of going into the game. So we got our strikers scoring, fantastic. And then we had the return of Matt Doherty, who... could you wish for a genuinely better second debut than scoring twice, with one of them basically being the goal, like your bread and butter goal in a Wolves shirt? Didn't do it at all when he was away. Comes back onto a Molineux turf and goes, you know what this is missing? A 70-yard run up the pitch for me to get on the end of it. Thanks a lot, big man.
He's scored more goals in 2 months than the whole time Semedo's been here.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know what? I was hoping / theory you'd bring up Semedo, because I know you'll want to. I think we're all big fans.
I love both of them. That's the thing. But Semedo's never going to score goals.
Yeah.
Doherty's a freak. This doesn't happen to anyone else. And normal teams don't have goal-scoring fullbacks, do they? He's just a one-off. And it didn't even happen at Spurs. It just happens here for some reason.
Yeah, and the second goal, he made that look really, really easy. But just the simplicity of it all, just to slide it past the keeper, was just, I don't know. Welcome back, Matt. That's all I say. It's like fantastic, really, when you look at it, the whole thing. And I think what you said is right, Stu, is that you offered goals up from different areas of the pitch. Why wouldn't you want that in your team? I was going to jokingly say a minute ago that Matt Doherty is going to be the top goal scorer in this team this season, but there's always a chance. So, you don't want to stick your head on the line with that too early.
I think it's going to be interesting for Doc, because it sort of feels like he's coming as the backup or second choice. I guess more than anything else, but. I don't know. I probably gave him more flack than most when he was a Wolves player, and I'm not kind of ashamed to admit that. But he gets you goals, and he progresses you up the pitch in a way that Nelson Semedo doesn't. And I don't know. Maybe again, same as someone like Sarabia, it is a pick and choose situation where against certain teams, Semedo needs to come in because we need him to, be a lot more solid defensively than for Matt Doherty, if we are looking to, I don't know, try and catch teams on the transition and on the break, maybe Matt Doherty, who's got that almost that instinct just to gamble the extra 10, 15 yards that Smedo's never really based his game on, to be honest.
I think the perfect example of that, if you're playing a back four, you play Semedo. If it's a back five, you play Doherty. Because neither of them are any good the other way around.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I was going to say, first goal, great. Then there was lots of subs. And I guess this is where the youth kind of came into its own because Nathan Fraser came off the bench, Big Alfie Pond came off the bench, who I feel like has probably been called Big Alfie for a significant period of his life. And Harvey Griffiths come on towards the end of the second half. Nathan Fraser sets up Doherty for his second and then manages to get one for himself. Again, local lad, senior debut, you just can't argue with it.
Yeah, you love to see it, don't you, to be fair? You just hope that, this isn't the end of the road. Hopefully he gets given whoever we draw, which the draw is coming up very soon, I think, isn't it? Hopefully we can break it live on this show, such is the excitement of the League Cup. But, he gets given some game time in, upcoming and make a case for himself why you should feature within in the first team because, it's so funny. I can't remember who it was on Twitter, so I apologize, but someone in the mad Twitter world talked about there are no more heroes within the squad after Neves left. But there was a photo of, it was, who was it? It was Sarabia, Fabio and Kalajdzic. And it was just like, this just feels different now. It feels like this is the new guard and heroes. But, we want a local lad as well, don't we? It always helps to have like a local contingent within your squad, someone that you can kind of hang your hat off and be proud of. And let's hope that this young crop that we have, there are people that shine amongst that group because it always helps with the kind of mental well-being, I think, of a healthy squad and a healthy fan base when you've got people that you can sing he's one of our own. It always helps.
Yeah, no, I'm completely on board. I'm a big fan of actually having, for me, that's why you have a youth team and a development team because, all right, yeah, you might have them to make a bit of profit on, but the aim is for them to actually impact your first team. And it's great that, the likes of Hugo Bueno even, and Totti Gomez and Joe Hodge to a degree as well have come into Wolves and made a level of impact at senior level, but they all joined relatively late on in their development. Having someone who's played for Trisol Tigers and has been at the club since since he wasn't, since before he was 10 in, one degree or another and keep progressing. And, you look at the size of, I was going to say the kid, he's 18 and he looks built for football. And, I think that there's obviously still a lot of development to go. I think it would be good, it to have that another season at under 21 level for him personally and not go out on loan and get, 20 minutes here and there. But, if we can get another bit in a group chat. But I would say, let us know in the comments, guys, who you thought man of the match was because it's such a feel-good game. And, everyone's always got those moments to, everyone's got those moments within that game. Do you give it Doherty for getting a couple of goals? Do you give it Nathan Fraser for being the 18-year-old lad? Or do you give it, Sarabia for the assists? Who would you guys go for your man of the match from yesterday?
I would say Sarabia. He's not even to wind Dan up. I just thought he was class. He was, as you'd expect, to be head and shoulders above a team like that. But like we've already said over and over again, it's not a given. And Everton embarrassing themselves on live in front of the world again tonight shows exactly what the problems can be. I thought Sarabia was brilliant. And I thought, it hasn't even been mentioned, I thought Bentley was good as well. He didn't have much to do. And he had his one, what Jose saw, like possession wobble. But I thought his his kicking was good. Other than that, I thought his positioning was good. He only got beat by that one that hit the post. And I'll criticise him before on it. He's not a number one, obviously, but he's very capable number two, which is nice to know, really, especially since one of our other signings is a third choice.
Whoa. He's got called up for Wales squad.
It's Wales.
Oh my, indeed.
When your number one is Danny Ward,
Yeah.
what does it say about your country?
It says enough, doesn't it? But yeah, I don't think to keep it back on track for where we're talking. I don't think Bertrand Traore, fucking hell, Boubacar Traore gets enough love for that performance as well. Last night he was classic, imperious. You know, and I was listening to. I didn't get a chance to go last night because I was busy with some league FA stuff, but so I was watching the stream legally, I must say, and I thought it was fantastic. And the commentator was from BBC Lancashire, and he was just like, "How this guy isn't playing for the first team? The players that Wolves have must be magnificent because this guy can really play football." And I was like, "Yeah, you can see it, you know." And it's another one of those. He's knocking at the door again, and these great performances keep players like João Gomes and Mario Lemina on their toes. That, you know, it keeps them on their toes, and they know that they've got a player like Traore right behind them, pushing them the whole way.
Yeah, exactly.
He's still a bit roadrunner at times for me. He's still a bit, but again, like Matt said about Fabio, he's young. He's gonna be erratic. He's gonna do mad things, but his enthusiasm to correct the mistakes over and over again. We've had years of players losing the ball and throwing their arms up in the air and sulking. Not now. Good guys 11. It's great.
Good guys 11. You're right, and I really like him because I think, especially when he came to the team last year, like he effectively replaced Dendoncker, and he was just almost like the opposite of Dendoncker for me, in terms of just being this raw, aggressive player who was happy just to, you know, try and catch players, you know, on the front foot. And, you know, he's had such a crappy time of injuries for the last 6 months or so. Again, this is why I think this performance and Gary O'Neill in particular deserves a lot of credit, because he made changes. He's given players opportunities. He's tweaked tactics and formations, and it's worked. And it's given, you know, apart from Joe Hodge, who's unfortunately got injured, it will give him a decision to make at the weekend. Hopefully, that, you know, does he go, well, actually, it kind of worked having two big centre forwards on. Do we try and keep a system where we're playing that kind of formation, or do we, you know, go back to type? Because whatever we did at Everton didn't fucking work. So the fact that, you know, we've kind of tried to be a bit flexible seems to have worked for me. Right. Shall we take a quick break and then talk about players not playing? Because
Right.
you know what? No, right. Look, we're gonna have our ad break, guys. If you're on YouTube, it's gonna be 6 seconds. For those who are listening to audio, you'll get a nice little advert, and then you can hear us all rant. We'll be back in I say 2 seconds. We know it's 6. Hello, welcome back, everyone. And why the fuck would you go on strike when you're not even going to play a game? That's my intro, guys. I'm sorry it's not my clean professionalism always, but I'm going to leave the floor for you guys for once, rather than going on my long monologue and let you carry on. So, Matt, you're a man of utmost integrity.
Thank you.
Listen to Cage Fighting to see this.
It's something I wouldn't normally say.
Well, I wanted a kind of pre-conversation about this. I was speaking to somebody at work today and talking about how, you know, how Bolly has goodwill but Hennessy doesn't, and where does this fall into the two extremes? And for you know, depending on whether you believe he intentionally got himself sent off or not against Brighton, I suppose depends on where you place this in the timeline or the line of how bad this is as an offence. But it's pretty shambolic, isn't it? Like, you know, I know that from a kind of squad dynamic point of view, there is, you know, there is clearly like friendships within the groups. It's not like he's been isolated from the team and he wants out because he's been bullied and he hates it in that respect. The simple fact of the matter is, and Jay Stanford's just put on Facebook about it, he's been told by his agent, he's been given bad advice. And I truly believe that that is the case. I think that he's had his head turned by a club. None of us are naive enough here to think that he was going to be roaming the mean streets of Whitmarines for 4 years, remaining on his contract. Do you know what I mean? None of us were stupid enough to think that. But we all know that this was a stepping stone move. We all know how much Pep fancies him and wanted him and talked, hyperbole about him for ages. But for it to happen now, and for it to be so blatantly obvious that not only has the agent tried to force a move, but the media have tried to force a move in Fabrizio and others, it just stinks of, well, a lack of integrity. It's the anti-Kurt angle. There's no integrity, there's no intelligence going on here. It's just it stinks. It's really poor. The only benefit that I can see is actually with Hobbs cooking the way he is, I think that we might be able to get at least a positive out of it with incomings on the back of this move. If it's meant that, you know, we've got this Bueno, I'm sure we'll talk about, and Doyle at a cut price because of it, then, you know, let's get rid of a bad apple and let's bring in some players that will actually help us with our ambitions.
Yeah, I was going to say, before we kind of go on to particularly the Tommy Doyle of it all, Jafos, do you have any kind of thoughts about the strike? I mean, personally, I can just about understand a player declining not to play a match to avoid injury. If they're on the verge of a move, I can just about accept it, or, you know, withdrawing yourself from contention, or however you want to look at it. I think to go on strike and not turn up to training shows a genuine lack of character in a person.
Yeah.
To like fit to down tools that much, when I don't ever think it was massively needed as a way to force the move. I think we're also pretty much shown that everyone's available for a price and are quite a negotiable football club. The need to kind of just sour relationships on an organisation who, you know, you are their club record signing. Frankly, that should mean something in the first place. First, you know, the fact that you are the record signing, you haven't necessarily produced to the levels of what a club record signing should do. And I say this as someone who likes the player, but I don't know. It feels like he is used as a stepping stone, but almost as an unnecessary stepping stone to a degree.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just all doesn't quite feel right, does it?
Yeah, he could have gone straight to one of those clubs. He shouldn't have really come here. But it's like, I think Matt said that it's not the right way to do things. The thing is, there's other ways to do this. He could have just turned up to training, gone through the motions, not put any effort in, you know, make sure that he didn't get injured. Man City could have put the bid in. Wolves would have gone the same thing. No, but we want this much. Because, as you say, everyone's got a price. You know, we are in a position where we want to sell players. And if they really wanted him, they could have just done it the right way. You don't need to about and to get players to act in this way, because it's so, you know, sours everything about their relationship between that player and the fans, and especially a player like Nunes, who has not had the best relationship with fans because his performances haven't warranted his price tag, like several other players have been bought in recent years. That it's destroyed it. His whole legacy at the club and his whole time at the club for being a record signing is pretty much ruined by his actions over 3 or 4 days, which is laughable, really. But you can go himself. But
I mean,
Yeah.
frigging De Bruyne and Rodri, it's great. Enjoy it.
I mean, I was going to say, Stu, before I ask you, tin hat theory time, which I feel like deserves its own jingle at this point, guys. Matt, you're quite musically inclined.
Let's think of something.
We'll brainstorm it after the show.
Yep.
Anyway, so tin hat theory time. The Mendes relationship with Wolves has clearly broken down, right? We'll kind of in agreement. There's been a huge disassociation. Do we think that this ploy to go on strike was Mendes influenced as a final FU to Wolves? Stu, tin hat.
I don't think it's broke down at all. I think we're in the level of the food chain that we've always been, and we always have been, and we were told this by Valencia fans 5 years ago that we were a massive fish in a duck pond in the Championship. So we had pick of the young players. As soon as we got promoted, we were the smallest one of a large group of teams that he's got influence with. So we're always going to get the cast-offs and the ones who no one else wants. And having his involvement and the nonsense that comes with it, and seeing the bright lights and how it worked the first time round, it's just a massive cock-up. And I don't think that it's that deep. I just think the guy he had nowhere else to go last year. He'd already kind of blighted his copybook at Sporting, so he had to go somewhere. A good year in the Premier League for a smaller team, then he gets his move, which, whatever, it's fine. We get a year's worth of a player that we never normally would do, and that was the whole idea behind it. It's gone spectacularly wrong because it's not Football Manager, is it? I think that's the problem. And we were talking about this last night, that you look at the players over the years who've done similar-ish things, like Matt mentioned. Bolly was on his arse. He was never going to play anyway. His time was up. I think Hennessy did it for that one game, but it was Gillingham in the league. He should never have been playing it anyway, which you can, again, he's still trained. You can kind of understand it. Sacco did the same in League One, but again, admitting his mistake, pulled his socks up. He was superb for the rest of the season. This is on a par with Enrique Amara back 20 years ago, where you think, well, he was instrumental in that season. We didn't quite stay up. Everyone all wanked the sell silly over Senegal flags, giving him player of the season, which was a farce, to make him stay. And then he left anyway because effectively down tools. But at least that was the end of the season. This is the worst we've ever had for me because it's just unforgivable. There's no need to do it. Like you've all said, like everyone said, he was going to Man City regardless. And the thing that he's done is ruining his own reputation in the game. Let alone for us, he doesn't give a flying fuck what we think. Who cares? But there were so many City fans on X saying, do we really want someone like this around the club? When what happens in 12 months' time when Real Madrid or Barca or Saudi come calling, it's clearly going to go. It's clearly going to down tools and fuck off there. So you think, okay, you know what you're buying. They've still bought him anyway, hopefully, which is wonderful for us. But from a guy who's clearly very, very intelligent, he speaks multiple languages. We've seen all the interviews with him. He's got his head screwed on. This ain't some kid being tapped up and these agents said, oh, you be a good boy now. You go and do what I say. He's 25. He knows what he's doing. I've got no sympathy for the guy. And if there's any justice in the world, in September, he's going to get the Danny Mills treatment and he's going to crumble. That would be perfect. Because if anyone deserves it, he does for what he's done.
I mean, the irony, I agree with the last bit. The irony is he probably won't play an awful lot. Which is a shame. But let's talk about the deal because I know, Stu, you were kind of, umming and ahhing about what's a good deal for Wolves. I think a lot of fans were in terms of, we bought him for around 40 million. What's the markup to make this actually make sense? And effectively, it's a deal worth a Percy bomb, as it were, guys, from John Percy at the Telegraph. It's a 60 million. The deal's worth around 60 million. Which is a club record sale for us. It does include a move for Tommy Doyle, who was previously at Sheffield United last season on loan and did very well. effectively it's a season-long loan. And I think the transfer fee is around 5 million for him. So I think there's a bit of manipulation in terms of the costings of it. But from what I saw and gathered from last year, him and the other Manchester City loanee, James McAtee, were both exceptional for Sheffield United last season, and Son, who looked like he could make the step up to this division. So all in all, we all kind of happy with the overall value, even if it includes a player as well.
I think I am now. I think I was annoyed because you had the 60 million thing, and we no one at the club said that today. He was on Sky saying Wolves won't accept anything less than 60 million, and I thought, well, if that's the line in the sand, then that's what we got to stick by, and we can't be look like pushovers. But when you think about it, you think what he's done. I mean, he's brought this valuation down. He's messed this up. And you think, well, we've effectively got our money back on a player who didn't really do anything. Which, whatever. It's almost like good old Hobbs has whitewashed the whole of Sellers' mental last 12 months. Like all of his wasters have gone, which is true. You look at who's left. Guedes has been dismissed again, or we'll get onto it soon. Unfortunately, Nathan Collins had to leave, and now he's gone as well. So you think, well, okay, he's undoing the bad things what have happened in the past year. But then you look at this deal and you think, okay, we've got our money back for him. We've got the option. We've got 12 months of one of the best kids in the Championship last year, with the option to get him for £5 million when we've got money again, which is quite ridiculous, really. And then we've got another one because of the City Group connection coming for a knockdown price. So overall, I think we probably do come out of it better. Long term, if he lives up to his potential, Nunes is going to be one of the best players in the league, obviously. But that's never going to happen here, is it? So I think if you look at it, once I calm down and stop being reactionary again, once I thought about it, actually, we've done pretty well.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think it's long term. And you got to look at players like Tom Doyle and, Bueno. These players could come in, they could have quite good careers. And the fact is they fill gaps that are kind of needed, especially Tommy Doyle, homegrown player. He fills a gap within that quota that's probably needed, and Hobbs now has got a very hard job and important job to bring in a certain level of young player that can develop, that we can sell on for potentially profit further down the line. And having these players and having this sort of Southampton, how they used to do it and how Brighton are doing it currently, and develop these players over a couple of seasons, then turn them over for big profit. You need to know what you're doing within the scouting network, and you need to know that you can develop these players so you have a certain level of quality of coach at the club. And it looks like we're going in that sort of direction, and that is going to be the model, because sustainability is going to be key to us under the next few years of Fosun, if nobody comes in and buys the club.
I think it's clear that the whole NC Brighton model it's the way that we're going to have to operate. I think it's more of a case of necessity than it is for want, I think, in some regards, because we've always, it's always been said that whole kind of 10 to 15 mil, 5 to 10 even mil signings have been the most beneficial to us, not only on the pitch, but then in the transfer kind of outgoings as well. So I think, yeah, it's been a quite an unsavory few days with the whole Nunes thing. But, if what you read is true, that the sell-on clause for Doyle, if we was to buy him, was like 50%. That's the rumor that's doing the rounds at the moment. That tells you everything about the player, doesn't it? Really,
Yeah.
What kind of City are, what their expectations are of them, of the lad, and we should really be excited about that. And actually, is he a player that we end up building around in the future, and then we won't want to sell him anyway? You know what I mean? It's just, I think we should be excited by it. We need bodies through the door. I think as important as bolstering the midfield is bolstering the back line. And I think, especially if, the way O'Neill wants to play with this kind of very high press that scares me a little bit with Dawson, no matter how reliable he is. The rumours around a centre-back signing as well bring me a little bit more, it makes it easier to sleep at night, I think.
Well, I was going to say, it feels like it's been all but confirmed that Wolves will sign Santiago Bueno, so we could have two Buenos at the back. Again, there is a Man City link there in terms of their ownership group. Whether we've managed to get that at a cut price deal as well alongside Nunes, I don't quite know. But again, ticks a lot of boxes, I think, for what we're looking for. He's young. Pardon me, I think he's only 27, I've got in my head. As I saw Gully so on Twitter, the fact that he's a Uruguayan centre-half fills me with a lot of faith.
Well, yeah, it does. And, I was listening to Tim Vickery earlier, and he, South American football expert, as he's always touted as. And he was saying about how it's exactly what kind of Wolves need, actually, a player that doesn't mind being that little bit further up the field of play as well. If Wolves are going to play that kind of style, it would suit, really. And Gully's right, Our record in the charity games notwithstanding, Gully does have a good eye for the kind of defensive side of the game. And, Uruguayan centre-backs are exactly what you need. No nonsense, no frills. He's not going to be there he's not going to try and emulate Podence or do a Rabona in the middle of the pitch or play us into trouble. Might stop some of the South Bank being so panicky as well, maybe, because I don't know how much he'll pass around the back. But yeah, I think that's the signing for me that really, because we've got a good squad. No, we've got a good 15 or so, but bolstering for when, we can't constantly rely on Dawson and Kilman. Totti scared me yesterday, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I think a centre-back signing is very high on the priority list.
Definitely. I think Wolves are still getting linked with Nico Elvedi from Mönchengladbach, which I don't see both coming in. So I think, if we get Santi Bueno, I think that's a really solid addition. And if we if our four centre-backs going into essentially the first half of the season are Dawson, Kilman, Bueno, and Toti Gomez, I don't think that's awful in terms of your chart.
Not if we're playing a back four. If you're playing a back five, it's asking for trouble. Which, if that experiment yesterday and how well it worked is anything to go by, maybe we do need to. But again, that'd be cruel on Toti Gomez because he's going to get left out again. And yeah, I think he fits into the young erratic model as well, where he doesn't help himself with his running style. Looks a bit odd. He looks a bit like he's being controlled by someone else, which is never good. But that's just how he is. I don't think that's ever going to change. He just runs in a weird way.
I think I don't know. I was going to say, I don't want to be harsh on him, but for me, he is very much a fourth choice centre half at Premier League level. Toti Gomez. It's would be how I to sort of surmise it. But again, we probably said the same thing about Max Kilman 3 years ago.
Some people did.
I mean, you've always been part of the KKK, Stu.
Yeah.
What about Kilman?
I love setting you guys up. Right, in terms of some other transfers, so we've talked Santiago Bueno coming in, the other one which looks very likely to happen because he has been spotted at Birmingham Airport, which is, I don't know, it upsets me because it should be an Asda or the Mount. But Wolves are set to sign Paraguayan youngster Enzo Gonzalez for around £5 million, who is, from all accounts, from what I've seen on Twitter, a very exciting left-footed winger. And again, whether he's someone who directly comes into the first team or we development squad him, I don't quite know. But again, the clips you see of him online, he's got a bit about him, right?
Reminds me a bit of like the videos we saw of Chiquinho. Again, Chiquinho, who cost £3 million and had more assists last season than Matheus Nunes. But again, if he's coming in, I think one of the Expressa Star video yesterday, Matt Meyer said, if anyone's watching the Paraguayan Premier League, you've got to get out more. No one's really got a clue who this kid is other than the obligatory YouTube video. So again, it's a good thing. Because we're not like Villa who just buy players who everyone knows off FIFA, it seems. There's actually work got into this, which is a nice feeling that they actually seem to know what they're doing now. And he fits the role of what Neto should be. And the Gully's been on this for the last couple of days on Twitter saying, cut it inside and shooting with your other foot. And he can do that clearly. Which, if we are going to continue playing inverted wide men, then is a must, really. So it wouldn't surprise me if, because we have only got a squad of 14, 15 players who can actually be relied upon, then he'll get his chance more sooner rather than later, really. But again, it's a step in the right direction. I'd rather have players like this who have 2 years, 3 years. If they do well, we make money on them. Great. Mm. If they're not coming in for stupid money that we can't really afford, with a massive ego and reputation, just to piss about.
Yeah, I think the key thing out of this that comes out is that we need more players in the Premier League who wear braces, because there can't be many, can there? And he's definitely the only one at Wolves, I think. Definitely within around that first team squad. So
he is a young. I know Alfie Pond's a little bit older than him, I'm pretty sure. But the fact that those two are basically about 12 months apart blows my mind. It's one of those. But Stu, you're right in terms of, I agree with you. I'd rather sign players who could improve and have got the desire to improve, rather than these big bloated players who don't necessarily want to be here. And one of the reasons why we're actually being able to get some players in at the very last minute is because we've managed to finally shift Gonzalo Guedes. There's your link, guys. He's gone on loan to Benfica for the season. And the reason why I mention it is Matt Hobbs's statement following the announcement was very leading, if you ask me. The quote was, the fact that we can use his wages to hopefully supplement other deals this last week can only be a positive for us. It frees up money to be spent elsewhere and gives him an opportunity to play games.
You know what? When we ask for transparency and all the good things about Ask Wolves, this is the kind of thing we mean. Do you know what I mean? Short little statement like that, a little bit of a snippet of breaking the fourth wall, and people lap it up, and I can't blame them. Like, what a perfect little statement just to come out about it, and it gets everybody on side. Well done, Hobbs. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. And it's not been generated by ChatGPT like Jeff Shee's letter obviously was, as Nate clearly pointed out by putting the same fact into ChatGPT and coming out with the same thing. Yeah, I hate that bloke anyway. Not Nate, Guedes. I hated him for years. Ever since I saw him for Portugal under 21s, I hated him then. This guy's a chancer, and so he's proved through his whole life. I don't get him. I don't get how he keeps getting these chances. He's just our Winston Bogart. He's just going to be a constant drain until he leaves on a free in like 2-3 years' time, whatever it is. Again, he never wanted to be here in the first place. He came because of his name. Fuck him.
Wow.
Feel like I should have done a little clip of that and spotlight. Hey ho. But yeah, it's good because it means we've not actually got dead weight around the club, frankly. I guess
one left. Well, there's one left.
Stu, stop stealing my intros for him, my man. But yeah, you are right. Like we've got a couple of days until the transfer window slams shut, and we are doing a deadline day show special. Of course, we are, guys. One player who it seems to have gone a bit quiet with is Daniel Podence, who is he on strike? Is he on sabbatic? I don't quite know the correct term for it at the moment, but
are you on strike if no one wants you? Like, it's like It's like when one of the part-timers at work leaves, and then you go, and someone goes, oh, by the way, do you fancy one of these donuts? Linda left them. Oh, what's happened to Linda? She gone on leave. Oh, no, she's left. She retired. Oh, fuck, I didn't realise. That's basically what's happening here. Like, no one really cares anymore. I don't think you can be on strike when no one's chasing you, I think.
Someone stole the stool from outside of his house so he can't get out of his door. He's so small.
Hey, now. Hey, now. Whoa there.
He's I think that is the. I mean, I said it last week there on here that it's massively telling that he can't even go to Scotland. That he's such a toxic little shit that no one's willing to take him on a knockdown deal when his contract expires in next June. He's another one again. If he didn't open his mouth, his digital mouth so much on Insta and slag everyone off, maybe it'd be beneficial to him, and maybe he wouldn't have such a reputation, which he seems to have got, because there's clearly a player there who could do a job, maybe not in the Premier League, but Saudi Arabia, Scotland, like Greece, one of the second, not the top level, but one of the second tier UEFA leagues, especially. He's not good enough for the Premier League. I know, oh yeah, top assist scorer, but that's like saying, oh, syphilis is not as bad as AIDS. It's like, well, yeah, we know how bad we are, but he was the least bad of the rest of them last year. The quicker he's gone, the better. And the fact that no one's coming for him, again, proves my point. He's a toxic influence over everyone. The fact that you got Cunha coming out, taking the piss out of him in a kind of roundabout way in his little post about coincidence last week. Nah. I think that's going to be that'll be the major problem of this window, that we can't shift him. And then what do we do? Pay him up? That's the only option, I think.
I think your point about character stat is an interesting one for me, Stu, because sometimes I don't think teams care all that much when it comes down to it. If a coach thinks they can get more out of a player, I think they put up with a bit of a not bad character necessarily, but not 100% one. And here's someone who has been quite keen to spout off on social media for opponents. And for me, the move for him would be to Notts Forest in terms of, yeah, exactly, because it ticks all the boxes in terms of level, location, whatever. But he can't move to Forest. Of course he fucking can't. He tried to fight half their team last year. But you're telling me if Brennan Johnson moves to Spurs, that move would make sense to me for opponents, but it just won't happen. You go, well, where does he go? I don't know. So there might be stuff cooking in the background. These things do happen very quickly, let's be honest. The Santiago Bueno stuff, that's been in the last 24 hours. I don't think it's been today, if we're being honest. It's not like it's been a long, drawn-out affair. So hopefully he does get a move, because, again, similar to Guedes, you just don't want the... Deadweight is a bit too harsh on Podence because he has contributed to his football club. And, I might not be his biggest admirer like some, but, I'll still respect what he has done on occasions for the club. But do we see anyone else moving between now and the end of the window, guys?
I think the bomb squad is done. I think hopefully that's the last of the. We need to have a squad to work with for the remaining months before the January window. So no, I can't see any more outgoings really, personally.
Yeah, I think it's all going to be on incomings. Hopefully, guys. Right, let's wrap up today's show. Big thanks to everyone listening. Right, I want to do one question though. I'm really sorry, guys, because we're on an hour. Wolves fan from the USA. Can someone explain to me the outrage of the price of pies? A sporting event here is at least double that price. Also, the season ticket price of £700. A single NFL game or NBA game will cost that amount. we must be doing something wrong here. And that's from Benjamin Howland.
Howland, I'd say.
Howland. Well, I can tell you are doing something wrong there. It's called capitalism. Anyway, so that's the end of the. I mean, do you any thoughts on the price of pies very quickly, or can I
said this. I said it to Joshua Buckley on from Whole Lot of Wolves that we guested on last year, Rich.
You did?
That he had the same point as well. But the main point with this, we're not America, and we're in Wolverhampton and not London. And when you put the pie thing, when you're going up from £4.15 to £5.70 in the space of 4 months, yeah, everyone could clearly afford it, but it's the principle of the thing. And
we don't pay extortionate healthcare bills, so
yeah, and the same with the season ticket prices. It's affordable for people who've got it, and you've got really no choice. But you'd rather not. Like, they'd rather not be killing each other every day, but you do. So it's either or. It's not good enough to put the prices up, and it's not good enough for them to charge what they charge for the NFL and NBA either. It's ridiculous. But because there's so fewer games, they get away with it.
Yeah. Without getting political, it's the same country where they charge $20,000 for somebody to give birth. It's ridiculous. Genuinely, it's ridiculous. So to even compare us to that country is impossible. It's impossible.
There we go, guys. There we go. Well, let's wrap up today's show. Big thanks to everyone who's tuned in live on YouTube, everyone who's watched it back on there, and everyone who's listened on podcasts as well. Big shout out to our new platform providers, Audi, as well, wherever you get your podcasts from. We will be back on transfer deadline day to give a preview of the Palace show and also cover the transfers coming in that evening as well. Hopefully it will actually be a busy show that day, because I'm in my 10th year doing this as Fancast now, and I'm trying to work out how many of them we've actually done deals with on the last day. So hopefully there'll be at least stuff to talk about this year. As always, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to us on YouTube, guys. For the people who are already watching, make sure you just do it now. And make sure you're following us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Already Talks YouTube, and TikTok as well. We're really cool when we do TikToks now, guys. So until next time, it's goodbye from Matt.
Take it easy, everybody. Look after yourselves. Have a great rest of the week.
It's goodbye from Jafo.
Peace and love, guys. Look after yourselves.
And it's goodbye from Stu.
See you later, everyone. See you Friday.
And it's goodbye from me, Pies Before Profit.